Kyle in New York. Kyle, your home state of New York has betrayed us. How do you feel about it? Go.
I'm currently crying on the floor in my underwear, looking for comfort food, cookie dough ice cream, preferably. It's depressing, man. It really is depressing. So I know you guys spoke a little bit about it before, but I wanted to bring up again real fast because I think this is super important and everybody needs to know about it. Just how biased the system was in New York against Bernie. Now, I mean, it looks like he lost by big enough where perhaps it wouldn't have made the difference where he would have won, but it definitely would have made a difference, and it would have made a significant difference. So, first of all, independents couldn't vote in the New York primary. Not only is it a closed primary, but people are calling it a super closed primary, which I think is totally appropriate. Second of all, to switch parties, you had to do it all the way back in October. Third of all, to just register, just to sign up to vote, you had to do it 25 days ago. And fourth, and probably most importantly, the districts that were more likely to go for Bernie had their hours changed this week. So it was supposed to be 6 a.m. in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, and then it was changed from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night. And listen to this. I mean, I'm just one dude, and I have a whole bunch of stories of people who reached out to me who told me, well, this is affecting me. So, for example, my brother-in-law, who is a registered Republican, wanted to vote for Bernie, but he couldn't because he had waited too long to switch. One of my best friends and his wife wanted to vote for Bernie, but they were affected by, the rules, and they now live out of the state, and it was a complicated thing in order to be able to do it, so they didn't get it in time. And then today, when I was voting, I personally saw, an independent who didn't know if he was registered as an independent or a Democrat. He wasn't sure. He asked, he wanted to vote. He wasn't on the list. And then, I suggested, hey, man, do a provisional ballot or something. And he's like, well, no, I think I actually am an independent. And then he was gone. So there was a guy, let's keep it real, he was most likely going to vote for Bernie, and he walked in, and then he wasn't able to vote, and he went away. Now, that's a huge thing, man. I mean, Bernie could have lost by maybe 3 points, 4 points, as opposed to, it looks now like he's down by, over 10 points, and he's losing by over 200,000 votes. And, all this stuff, it adds up, and it's really depressing.
So, Kyle, I hear you, and how corrupt New York is in a lot of ways, and at a minimum, if not corrupt, antiquated, is super frustrating. But I think I would have been more frustrated by that if he lost by 5 points, because then there might have been a real chance that he might have won in other circumstances. But when you lose by 15, you were going to lose.
Yeah, no, that's why I tried to lead with that, mention that I don't think it would have made the difference where he would have won, but it definitely would have made a difference. And it's one of these things where, the media is trying to bury Bernie, and they've been trying to do it from the beginning. It's so much easier to say, oh, okay, now we're done. Now you need to drop out when he loses by the margin that he did. But meanwhile, if it was an election that was actually remotely fair, perhaps this would still be something moving forward. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm certainly disheartened, and I had been oscillating back and forth between, 25% chance I think Bernie's gonna get the nomination, 30% chance. And then now after tonight, I mean, math is math. I know it's got a path forward, but it's a very hard path forward. I have him all the way down at 10% chance of winning the nomination.
No, I have much lower.
Yeah.
So, I am so low. My next question to you is, what do you do in a general election with Hillary Clinton? You make arguments in her favor as she's running against Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, or do you just make arguments against Trump and Cruz and leave it at that?
Look at that. First of all, that's an awesome question, the way you framed it. Do you just call Trump and Cruz a dick ad nauseum?
Yes.
Or do you also support Hillary? So I've spoken about this a little bit before. I'm not full Bernie or bust movement. I know there's this big Bernie or bust movement, and they've made, in my opinion, some compelling arguments. I'm like, I have 1 foot in that camp, 1 foot out of that camp. So my answer is, I would say if you're in a deep red state or a deep blue state, I'm not going to lose sleep if you don't go vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm in New York. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm probably not going to vote for Hillary Clinton because the state's going to go to her anyway. But if you're in a swing state or anything that could conceivably be a swing state, you probably should go vote for her. I mean, look, it all comes down to the Supreme Court. It all comes down to the fact that we know she's significantly better on social issues. And she's, you know, for all the horrible things about her, she's not fucking Ted Cruz. And she's not Donald Trump, a lunatic with a ferret on his head who might have the ability to launch nukes. So, I don't know. I always struggle with this because my heart is overwhelmingly with Bernie, and I don't like Hillary Clinton. And in a million ways, she's done the wrong thing in her career, and her voting record's not very good. But you know, you're faced with a choice on election day, but the thing is, there has to be some kind of punishment for not being a true liberal. And if people try to flip this back on me and say, well, Kyle, sounds like you're coming up with a purity test here. You're damn fucking right I have a purity test, because a liberal purity test is correct. It's not the same as a Tea Party purity test. Our purity test would be accurate. It'd be to be in favor of positions that make sense for the American people. So there has to be some kind of punishment for that. And in my view, I think the punishment should be something like, I mean, the base, many people in the base are going to stay home, and that's what's going to happen. And that's the price you pay for abandoning the base. So I would say if you're in a swing state, it sucks, but suck it up, hold your nose, and go do what you got to do. But if you're in a red state or if you're in a blue state, not only would I say whatever, go vote for her or not, I'll just say don't vote for her in those states. I'm not going to do it.
What if every Bernie supporter voted in non-swing states and in red states if she got absolutely no votes? in red states, also, right? Would that be funny if she got no votes at all?
Well, yeah. She's got to get some votes in the blue states, otherwise she'll lose.
No, I'm saying if
but in red states, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, if you know that your state's going to go for the Republican anyway, and if she got no votes.
No, because we still want them to go to the polls, so let's have them write in an actual progressive. No, literally those words, an actual progressive.
Remember, she won most of the red states against Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So, in fact, she has a lot of more, I don't want to say conservative because that sounds political, but more traditional voters who are more of a Democratic Party loyalists.
Right.
Who would be happy, excited to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a traditional person.
But but Kyle makes a great point about and it's the same point that I've kind of been making, is what is the punishment for being a Republican in the Democratic Party? What is the punishment for being a neoconservative in the Democratic Party? Well, if they know they can count on our votes, then how are we ever going to get them to change?
So there's another school of thought here, and I won't put a name to it, but a person I know thinks...
Ben Mankiewicz?
No. No, I'm going in the opposite direction.
Oh, okay.
That thinks, that the Barack Obamas and the Hillary Clintons of the world are in some ways worse than the Republicans because they disarm Democratic opposition. Okay.
Give her Jimmy.
Yeah, that's Jimmy Dore. He's sitting right next to you.
So Jimmy thinks that. I know another guy who thinks that even more vociferously than you do, right? And so the classic example is everybody gives credit to Obama for getting rid of some of Bush's tax cuts. That's enormously misleading. Mm-hmm. What actually happened was Bush had those big tax cuts, but they had a sunset provision in them. In 10 years, you had to vote on them again because he didn't have enough political power to make them permanent because the Democrats would fight him tooth and nail, right? When Obama got into office, he raised taxes revenue-wise 6%. And then he took that other 94% of the tax cuts and made them permanent. So, the establishment got even richer. Change on the outside, continuity on the inside. And he did what Bush couldn't do. And by the way, one other thing that Obama proposed was also something Bush couldn't do, cutting Social Security. Now, we got lucky that the Republicans in their infinite greed didn't take that offer.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is an incontrovertible fact that Barack Obama made that offer. It was public. There's no question about it. He offered to cut Social Security. You think Hillary Clinton won't do likewise?
Right.
Then you don't know the Clintons at all. In fact, Bill Clinton has been going around the country with Pete Peterson for years, if not decades. Pete Peterson is the leader of Cut Social Security movement. He's a billionaire who just apparently doesn't have enough money, so he'd like to take more from the people who are retired, right? So he's saying, give me tax cuts. Well, how are we going to pay for it? Screw it. Let's cut Social Security. Now, he doesn't put it in those words. He puts it in, we're going to save Social Security by cutting it to the bone, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Now, hey, we could pay for Social Security by increasing your taxes, Pete Peterson. Oh, hell no. We won't be doing that. Bill, go attack him, right? So the Clintons are totally in bed with Pete Peterson. Oh, okay.
And on that, Bill, we totally saw exactly where Hillary stands on that because Bernie rightfully brought it up like 4 times in a row at the last debate. Will you commit to raising the payroll tax to pay for an extension of Social Security? And he kept saying it, and she refused to say. She says, oh, we'll do things. We'll come up with plans. We'll have something. There'll be money. It'll be cool. And she would not say anything in particular that she would do to maintain it.
So, but now the establishment is even more clever. And I really don't think it was on purpose, and I think it's in some ways the invisible hand of the market, right? Even a guy like me that understands this entire phenomenon and that thinks in some ways those neoliberals are worse, right? Well, I can't not vote for Hillary, especially if I'm in a swing state, because instead of an establishment Republican, now the proposal is a fascist like Donald Trump. Now you got no choice.
See, I disagree. That's totally wrong thinking, I think.
Really? No.
Here's why. Because exactly what you said at the beginning, that only Barack Obama could cut Social Security. You think Donald Trump could cut Social Security? Hell no. George Bush couldn't fucking do it. So what I'm saying is,
in the meantime, he might invade Croatia.
Yeah. What's that?
But
in the meantime, he might invade Croatia.
Right.
You don't want to roll the dice on a guy like Trump.
Yeah, no, you can't roll dice on him, Jimmy, because it's not about, because he's not a traditional guy. A traditional Republican like Paul Ryan would try to cut Social Security, and he might not be able to do it. Hillary might be in a better position to cut Social Security than Paul Ryan. But Trump knows no rules.
Yeah.
He'll put the press in a cage, and if you get out of the cage, he might beat you.
That's what
right? He's going to bring back torture. He's going to bring back indiscriminate carpet bombing.
Think how strong the left would be. Think how strong. And we'd have all the independents, and we would pick off Republicans.
We might be strong, Jimmy, or we might be in jail.
No, I think it would be the...
He's talked about locking up the press.
I mean, I think
talked about that, repealing the First Amendment.
I think it would put liberalism over the top. You know how we always say that Americans are liberal, they just don't know it? I think they would know it.
See, if the nominee is Ted Cruz and the president is Ted Cruz, then I think you have a better chance of being right, okay? But then Trump knows no rules. There are no bounds. He doesn't understand the concept of democracy, and he doesn't care about it.
Right.
He's a strong man.
To the extent that he does understand it, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Yes, but to the extent then that I'm talking, there are other people in government to block. He can't just be ruled by.
Nah, he can, because here's
by fiat.
So last thing on the possibility of the monstrous Trump and why I would never ever risk that, because they said to him, hey, you know, the military can ignore your illegal orders. If you give them an illegal order to torture someone, or to kill their family members, they would be duty bound not to follow that order. He said, oh, that's fine, and then I just fire them. And he's right. He would, and you know what he would get? The next guy would follow his orders. Okay, and if you have control of the biggest military ever built, and you have a madman in charge of it, no way I'm taking any chances with that. No way. And so
what about?
But it is, if it really is Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, it's the establishment's secret wet dream. They're like, you have no choice but to vote for the most establishment candidate we have ever had.
Ever.
Okay. So
how do we do it? So what do we do? So then for 8 years we have the split left again. And we get nothing. And we go backwards.
No, we're TYT. We use it split left. We inspire them and educate them.
Yes. So then it just makes what we're doing harder. We're voting against ourselves. It makes what we want to get done harder. I think when you're with a Republican as the president, it coalesces the natural forces against them the way it should have. If we had a Republican president when we had Occupy, it would have been a totally different story. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
Okay. Yeah. But the thing is, with Donald Trump, like I feel like oftentimes the worst shit that he says is the most underreported shit. in the media. Like, they'll get mad when he said pussy in a rally. Let's all act like we're 4-year-olds. He said a naughty word, and let's cover that for a week. They get mad about shit like that, which I think actually helps him in the polls. But then there are other times where he comes out and he says, as he did once quite literally, that we should torture, quote, even if it doesn't work. And then he was on Fox and Friends one time, and he said, we should target civilians in the Middle East. We should kill the families of ISIS, not just ISIS, the families of ISIS. And that stuff gets underreported. But basically, what we have in front of us is a guy who is promising half the time to just out and out commit war crimes. And then when he's sitting down with Anderson Cooper and they're doing an interview, he doubles down on that and he triples down on that. This is the kind of stuff that, you know, it drives me crazy, but Cenk is right. They set up this choice where you have no choice and you're forced to vote for somebody else who's also arguably a war criminal, Hillary Clinton, because, you know, she's slightly less crazy than this, again, buffoon with a meerkat on his head, or a ferret, or whatever animal I used.
Yeah, well, so here's part of my answer. I will, you know, if it's Trump versus Hillary Clinton, that's not a hard question for me. I'll vote for Hillary Clinton. And then I will fight her every single day.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms about that. I don't think that's even a tough question. Like,
but Cenk, you're in California, so you don't have to do that. You don't have to vote for Hillary.
Yeah, but Kyle, I view that as meaningless, right? So on principle, you vote for the person I think you would have voted for, right? So it's okay. People can live in California, can vote for Jill Stein or somebody else. And assuming it's a two-person race, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, I'm going to vote for the person that I would have voted for in a race that mattered. Okay. But that's immaterial. What's more important is who, like, in a race, in a general election race, I will make the argument on the show that Clinton is better than Trump, because that is what I believe. Okay.
Yeah, but getting your wrist snapped is better than getting your femur snapped. It's just that's not a resonating thing. It's like saying,
and I'm
hey,
not
would
better.
You rather me piss in your face or, I don't know, elbow your mom in the face? It's just not
I know,
something
but there are
that's...
answers to those questions.
Elbow my mom.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So I know, but what I'm telling you is, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm not going to say during the general election, like, oh, no, actually, Hillary's kind of great. Right? Like, there's no way I'm going to say that. I'm going to say, yeah, sad day for us. Hold your nose, right? Because the other guy's a fascist.
No way.
And that's
But
true. Hold on.
way.
But that's not my main point.
way.
My main point is, on the day of her inauguration and every day afterwards, I'm going to fight against her neoliberal, neocon positions. And so the only people who argue against that are these antiquated dinosaurs, or people who have something to gain from it, who are like, no, you should support the Democratic Party because it's the party my grandpa grew up in. I don't give a fuck about your grandpa.
Christ.
Right? I don't care about the Democratic Party at all. To them, that's heresy. Heresy, right? To me, if the Democratic Party isn't progressive, why in the world would I care about it?
This party loyalty, I mean, look, when it comes to Americans' voting behavior, oftentimes they'll vote on party lines because they don't necessarily know a lot about the issues, right? So they identify more with the Democrats. They don't know too much about the policy ideas. I'm not just saying this because I'm saying it. There's evidence behind it. This was like American Politics 101 when I was in the master's program. But anyway, look, it's a low information voter play. I'm going to vote along party lines because it's just the easy way to do it, right? But if you care about the policy ideas and there's a candidate that doesn't represent what your best interests are, what good does it do for you to just vote based on party lines? I mean, you're voting against your best interests. I just don't understand.
That's this kind of party loyalty stuff is stuff I used to hear about Russians when I would grow up. And it's the kind of stuff that the right wing always does. It's party loyalty, fall in line. That's the old saying. Republicans fall in line. Democrats fall in love. We're not supposed to be the party that falls in lines, that has loyalty to a party. We have loyalty to ideas and our ideals.
Principles.
And
Yeah.
principles.
More than anything.
And let me, just to hammer home this point, Cenk, that I think most people are wrong on, and I include you in that, is that if Donald Trump is the president, the Republican establishment will fight half our battles with us. If Hillary is the president, we'll have to fight the Republicans and fight Hillary.
No.
So that's what I'm saying.
Agree.
No. You're never going to get me to consider Trump. Never.
No,
ever,
you don't have
ever,
to vote for
ever,
him. I'm just saying,
ever.
how could you bring yourself to vote for Hillary Clinton?
No,
That's what I'm saying. She can now count on your vote. She's like, oh, I got Cenk. Don't worry. When we beat Bernie in New York, which we're gonna, because I've been the senator there, we're gonna, and then Cenk will flip. He'll support me. That's what Hillary Clinton said at the beginning of the year.
No, but there's a difference between voting for someone and supporting them. Okay, so
very little difference.
No, there's an enormous difference. Okay, and again, my main objective is to get money out of politics because it isn't about Hillary Clinton, because the system would have produced Hillary Clinton no matter what. Okay. If you have this system produces Hillary Clinton. So my aim is to destroy that system. So that's why I'm much more of in some ways I'm more radical than you. In some ways they hate me even worse because they love that system. And so when I say I don't care about your parties and I don't even care that much who the president is, I don't need the president to change the system. An amendment changes the system. You know how many votes the president gets on an amendment? Not a fucking one. Okay? Not one. Not one. The president is irrelevant. It would help if they were on our side and made our case, but we're never going to get a Democrat to do that. The only hope you had was Bernie Sanders. Okay?
Yeah.
So a Democratic establishment, you think she says she's against Citizens United. Bullshit. She loves Citizens United. That's what made her that's why she won. Because she got all the donor money, and that's what made her competitor with Bernie Sanders. If she didn't have Citizens United, you think how much money would she have raised against Bernie Sanders? Not much.
Well, no, she would have gotten those dollars. She would have gotten the dollars that people were throwing at her SUV.
Look, I completely understand where Jimmy's coming from, and there's like this very frustrated, angry side of me that just wants to be like, you know what, Americans? Okay, let's go ahead and elect Trump. See how you like it, okay? Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, like if I calm myself down and I think about it, in a calm way, I guess. I just, look, you can fight Hillary as much as you want. That's not going to change shit. You've been fighting on this show for, decades at this point, right? And it hasn't, the fighting on this show has informed Americans. It's built a large audience of educated people that give me hope in this country. But it unfortunately didn't do enough to at least impact this.
You guys are 100% right.
No, okay, but with that said, you're right about Wolfpack. I feel like Wolfpack at this point is our only hope. And so I'm not going to say I've completely given up on this election. I'm getting close. I'm going to keep it real. But now more than ever, I want to fight for Wolfpack and I want it to succeed because it's really the only hope we have.
Hey, Cenk,
go ahead,
let me give you one more argument here. I'm not arguing the polar opposite of what your point is. I have what I think is, a middle ground on this issue when it comes to what we should do in terms of Hillary. So the argument to not vote for her in deep red states and deep blue states, and the most compelling one to me, comes down to moral red lines. Now, again, I'm only talking about deep red states and deep blue states. You happen to be in a deep blue state, so hey, you can do this if you please. But the idea is, like Jimmy alluded to, she has to earn our vote, and she just hasn't earned our vote. And there are things that she's done that they're just flat out inexcusable to any liberal and any progressive. She voted for the Patriot Act. That got rid of the Fourth Amendment. No more habeas corpus. No more due process. She was for NAFTA and for multiple outsourcing deals. She lobbied for TPP 45 times. She supported the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which repealed Glass-Steagall. She just came around to gay marriage in 2013. Guess what? That was not a hard one to figure out in 2012. She voted for the Iraq War. Her position on Israel-Palestine is the exact same fucking position as Benjamin Netanyahu. She promises to make the same mistake of Iraq in Syria, which is crazy. You think we would have learned, hey, don't topple the strong man in the Middle East because then something worse is going to come up out of the ruins. Now she's saying, let's do the same fucking thing and topple Assad and do a no-fly zone and escalate with Russia. So the bottom line is, the people who support her, especially if they support her and they actively choose her over Bernie, you're just wrong. Like, it's not a question. It's not a matter of opinion. You're just incorrect. You have to come to terms with the fact that you're center right if you're somebody who actively picks her over Bernie when you have a choice for Bernie. But at least in my mind, I think of a vote for Hillary when you don't absolutely have to do it, so you're not in a swing state. A vote for Hillary by choice in a deep red state or a deep blue state, I think of myself having to explain that vote in front of a fucking international tribunal. We're all there because, hey, the person you voted for killed a minimum 200,000 civilians in Iraq with her stupid-ass vote. That's how I think of it, and I draw some moral red lines.
Okay, but guys, all right, so this is how I break it down. The thing that I fight most for is systemic change, Wolfpack, etc., right? The thing I fight second most for is primaries. So, for example, in 2012, I didn't vote for Barack Obama in the primary. I'm probably among the very, very, very few that didn't vote for Obama. I bothered in California, which is the last primary, to go out to vote in the primary to make sure I voted against Barack Obama. And I didn't even, there was no other choice on the ballot. Nobody ran against them. I wrote in Larry Lessig to get money out of politics. Okay. So I believe in primaries with every fiber of my being. And then when you get to the general election, you know, I view all this arguments honestly as not that important. So, yes, I vote for the lesser of two evils in a general election. I fight like hell so we don't have the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
But if on that day you have the lesser of two evils, yes, the more evil one is worse.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
To me,
right?
not choosing in that case, it's like, to me, it's like pretending that you can't differentiate between the two, that you can't say that one is worse. It's not saying that she is good. It's not saying that she's the Pope. It's saying we can look at him and I can give you 20, 30, 50 ways in which he would be worse. I don't want to support him. I would rather that she would be the president. It doesn't mean that I love her. Doesn't mean I want her to be my president necessarily, but I want her a hell of a lot more than him. It's not even close. I can make that choice.
There's so many unintended consequences of a Hillary Rodham Clinton presidency.
Well, but Jimmy, really fast, there's unintended consequences of a Trump presidency. Like, we can talk about the ideological shit. If he starts locking women up for getting abortions, if he starts killing the civilian families of terrorists, if he inspires squads to go around this country and to beat up Muslims and to beat up Hispanics, this is real people's lives.
So listen, I agree with you, but there's an opposition to those things, okay? And he's going to split
There's always an opposition in the beginning. He's sometimes not an opposition by the end.
So here's another thing that I don't think we're considering that we should be considering. Is look how bad the Democrats got their ass handed to them in the midterms. And that's with a popular guy like Barack Obama as president. Hillary Rodham Clinton is the president. They get their ass cleaned even harder in the midterm elections. But if Trump is president, Democrats take over the House and the Senate. Okay. And then we get a Democratic president in 4 years, and then we have a real progressive revolution, and then we make something happen. Voting for neoliberals is a losing strategy. 100% loser.
No, you're selling Trump short, Jimmy. I don't see, and I was listening earlier when Michael Schur was on the panel, and you know, he basically in a very assertive way was like, oh, I mean, if Trump's the nominee, I mean, come on, Democrats obviously win. Okay, dude, that is exactly what everybody said about Donald Trump going back to the fucking Iowa caucus.
Right.
Yes.
Before the first debate, they were like, he's done. And then after the debate, okay, he won that debate, but the next one he's done. Then he won that one. Okay, no, the next one. And then fucking, by Iowa. By New Hampshire. And then they just kept moving the goalposts. And now the fucking guy looks like he has the nomination locked up. And liberals are still smugly saying, oh, please, he could never win a general. Yeah, he fucking can. There's no doubt about that.
I'm just saying I'm not freaking out about it like other people are freaking out. Like somehow it's Armageddon because some guy is going to come get the presidency who half his party hates, half the establishment hates. No, it's not the nightmare people think.
I'm going over the top.
I think the real.
I'm going over the top. Okay, I've been to too many Holocaust museums, and you read the history of it, and they didn't start by saying, "Hey, I'm going to do gas chambers." If they had said gas chambers, they wouldn't have won, right? Mm-hmm. Instead, what they said is, okay, yeah. I mean, I hate the Jews. And what does Trump say? I hate the Muslims. I hate the Mexicans. Yeah, I hate them. I hate them. Okay? Now, I mean, I'm not going to do violence, but, I mean, if people did violence on my behalf, I would understand. I mean, it's nearly identical. And by the way, Hitler didn't win outright. He won a plurality. He didn't win a majority.
That's right.
Right? And then, he did the Reichstag fire. And where they attacked our fucking parliament. Now what happened? Your opposition is gone.
Yeah.
Your opposition is fucking gone. And those cowards in the fucking media, you think they won't bow their head to Donald Trump? The minute he has power, all of the fucking corporate mainstream media bow their head on day fucking one. And they go, yes, sir. Who do you need us to remove from the fucking building, sir? Yeah. No way I take that chance.
And also, I would point out a significant difference between, look, I will include myself amongst the group that Kyle said was smugly assuming that Trump would go down. The huge difference between our experience with him in the Republican primary and now is we were assuming that all the terrible things he was saying would ruin his numbers, which were almost always, except for about 2 days where Ben Carson passed him, were always significantly higher than the other Republicans. But along the way, people have been hearing what he's been saying, and now it's not like we're saying he's starting up 10 points over Hillary Clinton. We think people will learn about him and then he'll lose. He's down big with terrible favorability numbers. Extremely significant.
Hillary, and she's beating Bernie.
What's that?
So Hillary has high unfavorables too, and she's beating Bernie.
Good point.
Yeah.
I know, but she's also beating Bernie, and now she has higher numbers than Trump.
Yeah, I think you guys are agreeing. Yeah, so Trump has terrible unfavorable numbers, but he still won.
The main point is, I'm not speculating that Trump will lose support, and there's some way that people are going to learn and he's going to lose support. He's already down huge, and there are extremely important, electorally significant groups that are done with Trump. They've heard about him for 9, 10, 12 months, and they're not interested. And groups that conceivably he cannot win without having.
Okay, last thing.
No, he has crossover appeal that you're not giving him credit for.
I think everybody in America knows who he is now.
Half the time he says the opposite of the crazy shit that he says.
Yes.
So on the one hand, he says, let's go kill the families of ISIS in the Middle East. On the other hand, he says, oh yeah, by the way, I want nothing to do in Syria and I want Vladimir Putin to attack ISIS. So, and there are even times he says, oh, okay, the company that shipped all their, shipped the jobs to Mexico, Carrier Air Conditioning or whatever the fuck it was. He's given stump speeches saying, I'm going to make sure those jobs stay here. I'm going to do protectionism. I'm going to fight for the unions. That's flat out liberal shit. That has crossover appeal in the general, and it definitely will make the Democratic base stay home, because when he keeps hitting Hillary, for example, on the issue of money in politics and that she's fucking bought, you think liberals are going to, skip to the polls and vote for her? No. And also, you don't have to like somebody to vote for them. You just have to think that they're going to get the fucking job done. And when Trump portrays himself as I'm a winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner, he's a brilliant marketer. That's the one thing he's good at. He knows how to sell himself and act like he's better than he is. And you could be a brilliant con man and make it to the White House.
Well, I would, my final point I want to make is, he has been doing that. He's been doing that flip-flopping. He's been doing the calling himself a winner, and it has done extremely well for him in the Republican primary. And I think that outside of the Republican primary, which is not a very large number of people, I don't think people have been hearing that message. There is nobody whose message has been relayed to more people across America over the past year. And I think that a lot of Americans have heard it, and those not actively involved in the Republican primary, they're not buying it.
This is the thing that Kyle and I agree most on. You guys,
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying there are very good reasons to believe that he would have a very small chance of winning a general election.
No, but everybody thinks that. Kyle thinks that. I think that. Right? Yes, he is very likely to lose because there's never been a candidate that's less favorable. He's losing every one of those giant demos, blacks, Latinos, women, etc. Right? But if you think he has no chance, you're very mistaken. He's the one guy who is a fucking wild card and can do all the things that we've been talking about and can pull it out. I would infinitely rather go up against Marco Rubio than Donald Trump.
Oh, no question.
Wait,
boy,
Marco Rubio with Adderall or without Adderall?
Anything you like. Marco Rubio on top of Jeb Bush, okay? Marco Rubio is a boy who would be spanked by Hillary Clinton, okay?
Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay.
That is sexist, sir.
That's right. Hillary Clinton would destroy Marco Rubio. And ironically, that's a scenario where I would say Jimmy has a much better case to make. Because Marco Rubio is not a fascist. He's just going to do standard right-wing bullshit. The Democrats will fight him tooth and nail, and then he will get his clock cleaned in the next congressional elections, and then he'll get mauled in the next presidential election, and then the progressives will have a chance to be ascendant. But we didn't get Marco Rubio. That's not the card we drew.
So if you say we have to vote for Hillary because we might get a fascist,
yes.
The definition of fascism is what?
Here we go. So people say it's when a business and government merges.
So we
That's
have a
one,
choice.
one
So our
of
choice,
many
one of many-
characters.
so our
One of
choice is a
many.
fascist or a fascist and a racist.
Well, even if that
Out
were
of
the
those
case,
two,
I would
And-
take the
and you're
fascist rather than the fascist and the racist.
And so you're afraid that he might start wars like, I don't know, like the Iraq War, or he might be for, I don't know, bombing.
guys,
He might be 110% behind Israel. I don't, what is that fucking Donald Trump is going to do different than Hillary Rodham Clinton has already done?
Okay, no,
Guys,
yes.
there's a middle ground.
You know how many people Barack Obama has deported already? He's already doing what Donald Trump is threatening to do. They're already doing it. That's according to Fusion. That's right out of their news report. So this bullshit that we have to fear Donald Trump is nothing but fear. Fuck fear. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. I'm not afraid of him. Fuck that. God damn it. You gotta stop supporting neoliberals. We gotta get it out of our system. They're just as bad as conservatives. Everything she's done, we're against. And how can you now turn around and give her your vote? She's got to earn your goddamn vote.
Look, the only thing I can think of at this very moment that I fear when it comes to Trump is him attacking reproductive rights. Like, think about how much of a disaster it would be. Let's say he doesn't actually punish women and throw them in prison if they get an abortion. Let's say that he just goes above and beyond in restricting abortion access, right? That would be a nightmare. I mean, just that alone would be a nightmare for me. But I hear you, Jimmy. Like, I hear you. There are so many similarities policy-wise between Hillary Clinton and right-wingers, especially when it comes to foreign policy. And it pisses me off that we have to choose between the lesser of two evils. And look, and if you decide not to, I mean, I respect that decision. But at the same time, I feel like Trump is such a Looney Tune and such a wild card that we don't really know what he would do, right?
No. Jimmy's half right, though. There's got to be some sort of punishment for Hillary Clinton not being a true liberal, not being a true progressive.
You
there
know
has
what?
to be
You know what?
something. Now, that
I don't
shouldn't
agree.
be Donald Trump winning. So there's got to be something, but I wouldn't go any further than saying, hey, if you're in a deep red state or deep blue state, don't vote for her. But if you're in a swing state, don't be an idiot. She is definitely better than fucking Trump or Cruz. So use your brain.
So I'm going to change this paradigm entirely. Okay, I think you guys are wrong on a more important level. Okay, and so let me explain.
Let me tell you how you guys are wrong in a bigger way.
Everybody.
That's right.
You guys are transcendentally wrong.
Right. That's right. In a sense, that's true. Okay, so let me explain. Okay, guys, the punishing Hillary, la 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 la. No, you're missing it. It's not going to work. It's not like if you punish Hillary, the next Democrat in this system will learn their lesson and be more progressive. No. You have to destroy the corrupt system.
Yes.
Unless, hold on. Unless you rewrite the code and get an amendment to get democracy back, it's a fairy tale that you're going to get a more progressive Democrat. No, the Democratic Party is, in a sense, useless. It's part of, so all the things that you complain about, Jimmy, are never going to get better in this system. Never. You can punish her all you like. You can vote for Trump. You can do this. The next person that comes along in the Democratic Party will have come along in that same system, fed by giant amount of donor money. They will be just as bad. They will never learn that lesson. The lesson they learned is who signs my checks. That's the only lesson they learned. So all of this is immaterial. The only thing that matters is to make sure that you change that system. That's the only thing that matters. So sending a lesson to Hillary Clinton, I think, is totally and utterly irrelevant. The Democratic Party and the establishment of the Democrats aren't ever going to learn a lesson. That's not how this machine is built. So you've got to take the machine down.
Yeah, I would do both of those things.
What do you think's going to happen in the midterms if we have Hillary Clinton as president?
Okay, so we gotta. So I will answer that, but we got to start wrapping up. So Kyle, God bless your heart. Great points. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, check out Secular Talk. But you already are because it's gigantic.
All right, guys. Thank you,
Kyle. Great job. Thank you so much, both on Secular Talk and tonight. Thank you, man.